And dump some ice on them.
Exactly.
How was your birthday?
Hmm?
How was your birthday?
That was awesome.
Good.
Are you kidding me? A blizzard, a snowing day. I mean,
Oh,
what
geez.
did the girl ask
That's
for?
what-
Just pulled in the parking lot.
Thank you. Yeah, that's Friday.
Mitty's coming.
Okay, good. Yeah, it was perfect, in my opinion, you know? Like,
You
just
couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do
Couldn't
anything.
go, couldn't do anything. We cooked dinner, we played games, it was awesome. Just as you would want it to be. I'm with family, everybody was stuck there with you, whether they wanted to be or not.
Great way for your 40.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
with 2 minutes.
And I feel so
Just,
fantastic.
she said she's just walking in,
Being
so.
40 again. It was good.
If one, you start.
Actually-
6, should be fine.
The amazing part of that is the mail carrier. Still brought mail on that day,
Yeah,
which then brought some magical Talbots came to my door and I don't know who ordered. I even got a gift. And it fits, and it's just what you wanted.
good job, Daryl, way to go,
Yeah.
Daryl.
Actually, you guys, I have to show you the picture, and I know we're gonna get started, but they bought me these massage smart goggles. And they go on your face and they like massage and warm your face to like, I'm gonna send you all the picture now. It is like the greatest.
I want a picture of you wearing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it. I have my blanket and then I put that on. And I thought, it's something you wouldn't really think you'd want. And then you try it out and you're like, oh, no one's touching these. These are
Yeah.
fantastic. They warm your face, they massage your face. They're great. My boys got me those, so.
All right. Call the meeting to order. We didn't say anything other than that. Calling the meeting to order. A roll call. Gil,
Josh,
here.
Nathan,
Here.
Melissa, here. Mindy's not here yet. Andrew
Here.
and Evan.
Here.
There's Big Rash.
Mindy.
Just in time.
Ready?
Roll call, Mindy.
All right, approval of the agenda. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, good second.
I'll second.
Motion by Drew.
And Mayor. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, do we have anything for public forum? Doesn't look like it. Okay. Oral reports. We have a moment of silence for the Perry School and community, so obviously, we understand. We don't understand what was going on there, not from the point of view of the community of Perry, but I'm sure it hit everyone here a little bit harder than it would have had we not been in the positions we are, the staff of the school or kids that are talking about this as it happens and, staff having to come in the next day or later that afternoon and answer questions to the kids. I know we're having those discussions at home, so it's should always be on the forefront of our mind, and obviously terrible news out of that. So yeah, I'll take a moment of silence. Okay. Administrative reports, department reports.
Yes, you have the department updates in your information. There is a little bit of an added piece here in front of you. We had one update in the technology department, so we wanted to share that with you, so you have that as well. As you can see, all of our departments are working hard and doing a great job. As you can imagine, the highlights that I want to make are all the snow removal that we're doing all over the place as fast as we can. And so that's Brent and Dan. Of course, we work with Bo and snow removal that's helping us do that. But that is a lot of effort and time that goes into those decisions about where to move the snow and how big those piles of snow are. And at times they were moving snow and then they have to call it off because of what was happening with the wind. So a lot taking place there. So I wanted to just express my gratitude to everyone that's helping us with that. Of course, always when we run buses, that's always challenging. I want to thank our transportation department and all of our drivers for keeping our kids safe when we have them out there. It takes extra time to be able to do that as well, so.
The mental wellness report.
Yes, actually, one other department update that I should mention that we'll be sharing this with you more later at the next meeting is we did hire a new nutrition director, Tace Clark. Today was her first day. She comes to us from Baxter and we're super excited to have her on board. And she and Deb are working together for that transition. So just so you're aware of that. And I look forward to all the wonderful things that she'll be bringing to our nutrition department. Mental wellness report, just so you're aware, I have the lead on this project will be Lindsay Good, who works with Carrie Clark in the curriculum department. Lindsay has been working with Jennifer Yulee to put together the groups, what different parents will be invited, community members to put that together. The weather's holding us back a little bit, but those groups will start I believe probably in February, and it will go clear into September next year with some recommendations that come to this group. So that ball has started to roll, just stopped a little bit now because of trying to figure out all those pieces with weather, but making sure we have lots of people sitting at the table without having too many, because if you get everybody, then it's hard to get some resolution or conversation going. So that is taking place and I'm really excited about that particular piece. The other piece, sort of on a different angle around mental wellness that I wanted to mention is, you know, that with the governor's announcement of some of the budget decisions that she is bringing forth around AEA, one of the things I want to mention to all of you is that we have relied on AEA in many different capacities in our district, and that's probably a longer conversation. But the one area under mental wellness is that when we had some crisis over the last 4 years, the team that came together to help us in the area of crisis was our AEA crisis team. When we were having decisions to be made that needed to be made immediately, who could come in and help us with helping staff, helping students, helping our entire organization, it was the AEA crisis team. And I can't imagine leading those moments while we're suffering grief without the AEA. And that is a piece that has been proposed to go away in the budget pieces that the governor was sharing. So I've been reaching out and sharing that information with our legislators, so they have that information as well as other superintendents have reaching out. But just to give you a little bit of a concept of what does AEA do for us around mental wellness, that is one component besides all the other things that they do. That is one component where they have been instrumental for us in times when it was extremely difficult, and we hope that you never need that. You mentioned Perry earlier, as we did a moment of silence for them. When Perry has been going through their difficult challenges and really tragedy, AEA has helped step up and help them as well. So just something for you to know.
When will that decision be made on AEA, and when will we know the exact amount of cuts that are?
Well, the State Department has asked us to, Mackenzie Snow, who's the director of Department of Ed, has asked us to make a decision as a district by April 30th. So I will be bringing information back to you as a board to determine what decision we're going to make about what does AEA provide for us and all of our students, and what are we going to recommend and what we do. We did have a superintendent meeting last week about what does it mean on what AEA pieces as it stands today with the governor's recommendation, what would still be standing for support services for our students and what would not be there. So we'll have to make some decisions around that. To answer your question, Andrew, about when will the decision be made? It's really about when the legislature decides what that looks like. The bill that's been written by or presented by the governor is out, and the legislators will have to decide. Legislators will have to decide what they're going to do with her proposed bill. So That's a short way to say we just don't know, but it will be in this legislative session. It's a long way to say we just don't know.
For those that haven't read, I mean, I know the IESB sent out an update last week, an alert that had a bunch of the things that the governor's proposing. So if you haven't had it, I can send it to you. Or I'm sure Christine could as well, but there's a lot in there, and again, we don't know a whole lot right now, but there's a lot of changes and recommendations for SSA, and so.
And then you want me to move into?
Yeah, unless anybody has anything else on that, I look forward to seeing more on it.
Yes, we really need to dedicate some time to it as we look to a retreat or time to talk about it, because we'll need to look at exactly how our dollars that we utilize AEA, what that looks like, and then what would that mean for us as a district. And honestly, I'm just trying to, it's only been a week. It was a week ago tomorrow, I think. Yeah, a week ago to yesterday or tomorrow, to look through all the things that the proposed changes that she's recommending. So, okay. Calendar, you want to talk about?
Yep.
Okay, next up is the district calendar discussion, sorry. So last year, if you recall, we implemented the calendar for this year, which is early release Wednesdays. We did send out a survey to our staff, and we're getting wonderful results about how is it helping you in planning for your day? How is it helping you work with your colleagues? We're getting very positive results about how it's helping make decisions, make data decisions, make decisions on what's happening in the classroom. The one little piece of feedback that I've gotten in a couple different ways is around parents are asking for a little more consistency, because some Wednesdays are 12:30 and some Wednesdays are 2:30, and that creates a little bit of confusion. So for this year's calendar, we're looking at pretty much trying to do a rollover calendar, just rolling it forward, but maybe tightening up so we don't have the 12:30 days. Maybe we could stick to the 2:30 days, or if we have a professional development day, it's for a whole day. So it doesn't change the hours per se, but it makes it more consistent and clear for parents. So that's what we're working on right now. With that, we're also proposing the idea of bringing forward a 3-year calendar. So it's the same calendar that rolls forward for 3 years. And so that way we don't have to analyze it every single year at this time. We can just say, okay, we're ready. One of the biggest constraints of the calendar for us is when we can start school based on the Iowa State Fair. There is a lobby, which I really thought somebody was teasing me when they were telling me this, but this is a real thing. There is an Iowa State Fair lobbying of when you can start school. And so right now, the earliest we can start is Friday, August 23rd, which starting on a Friday isn't always ideal. But if that's what we need to do, that's what we'll do. And we're taking a look at that. There is talk in the legislation of possibly lightening that up a little bit, but I don't know if it'll get passed. If it does, we would start a little bit sooner by like a day or two. But that's what we're looking at, and that has to be public hearing. So once we have a draft calendar, we'll put it online. We'll notify people so they can take a look at it and give us feedback. So when we come to the public hearing on the 12th of February, people have had a chance to see it, and then they'll still hopefully vote on it at that time. So that's what we're looking at. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're. So not a lot of change to it.
Do we have surveys or anything go out to the parents?
We did not at this time. We did last year, if you remember, because early release was new. What I did do is I did talk to the foundation, which our education foundation, because it's about 15, maybe not quite that many, but about somewhere between 12 and 15 parents on that, just to get any feedback. And that was the same feedback I had sort of heard, which is the consistency is what was kind of causing the rub. So I did check with other superintendents about their calendar and what that looks like, and we're also communicating with them and whether they're talking to parents, because there's so many constraints. There's not a lot of wiggle room that we can do as it relates to information from parents on that. So I did talk to the foundation for a minute about it. That's where we're at this time. So
I'd like as much info out as possible before. Because if we're voting the day that the public forum, it essentially means that the public forum on the calendar is essentially meaningless, because we can't go back and say, hey, we had a ton of people show up and say, we don't like this,
Right,
we should revisit this. It's,
Yeah.
so,
that's good.
as much out as possible. I mean, I know me personally, that's been my thing over the last couple of years, is make sure we're getting more parental input on this, because I'm glad that it's working well for the staff. It's been just for our family personally with 2 working, parents, it's been tough to keep track of everything. So
Yeah.
I want to vote on this confidently knowing
Yeah.
that everyone's, getting their viewpoint in.
Okay, good. We'll do that.
And I saw some notes in here with Troy about putting district calendar communication, so it's, looks like it's a priority.
It is.
I would emphasize that.
Good, we'll do that.
I think it's a great idea that going to a 3-year, because every year this calendar just seems to take up a ton of staff time and hours, and it's, very little changes, or very little should change every year. I think going to a 3 years is the right thing to do. We should have done this years ago, in my mind. So I think good job, kudos on that.
Thanks. And there's some pieces to it, we have to have so many minutes and so many days. If you can do minutes and you don't have to do days, so we have to keep track of that. We have to keep track of, staff has contracts for so many days, we have to make sure we have that built in. I have to keep in mind about snow days, which, wow, who knew? We have to make sure that we have enough. So if we decide to make up the snow days, sometimes we have to, maybe we don't have to, based on hours that we have. So there's so many constraints around some of the pieces that there's not a lot of wiggle room, but I do know, and I think that's why I like the idea of 3-year rolling, is that we've already had some phone calls of parents asking us, when's spring break next year? And I'm just like, we're getting to it, we don't know yet, because people are making plans already.
That's the only thing I've really heard from parents so far is when's next year's calendar gonna be out? I'm looking for it, I'm going online, I'm needing it, and it's not there yet. So, yeah.
I hear that a
And
lot of
we had
time in that
3-year
book too. Yeah, needing that, what's next year, always planning a year out.
The only other thing I had, we found this out kind of midway through the year, but apparently at the intermediate, there was a recess that was cut to accommodate the early out. That was concerning to us, because that was always a point of pride when we talked to staff, like, hey, we still give the kids recess, we have like with ADHD with one of our kids, it's written into his 504 that he doesn't lose recess. That's how important it is. So it's just, I was concerned when I saw that, so I don't know if there's anything we could do from it's. There's the calendar and then there's what we do within the day, but a lot of kids coming back saying, yeah, they don't necessarily think,
Yeah.
hey, mom and dad, we're not getting a recess, because they just get there, they go through their day, but.
And actually, in that particular, if I recall, I know we had talked about that there wasn't a cut to recess, it was a cut to exactly what you're saying of how it was done. Instead of saying like, it's official 10 o'clock, we're all going to recess, it was done by grade level to say each grade level could go out. And then what that also does when you think about the management of school is that then the teachers decide, okay, I'll go out with them this week at this time and you'll go out that next week. Somebody has to be out there on duty, so that, teachers kind of have to take that on. So there wasn't an elimination, but the way it was done had changed so that kids were still getting that time, but it allowed for more flexibility, but it also speaks to what you're saying, Josh, is about communication is really important. So when we make changes like that, we need to make sure we're communicating that out to parents so that, because kids sometimes might say like, well, we don't get that recess anymore. It's like, well, yeah, you do. Maybe we combine it with snack and it comes at this time or that, so we just have to better communicate with parents to make sure that people know how it's happening, to make sure we're not cutting things, because there was never an intention to cut any recess ever on that. Good point. Thank you.
Anything else on calendar? All right, board reports. So we have the Story County and the City of Ames conference board representative that we need to appoint. Last year it was Jeff. I believe, so the Ames person reached out and, she's actually, gonna come to a meeting here in the next 1 or 2 meetings, just to give us an overview of kind of how they do things, property tax evaluations, assessments, everything, so that would be helpful. We can look forward to that, but they have essentially 2 big meetings kind of at the beginning of the year that, essentially budgetary reasons, and the rest of that is done on staff time through the assessor's offices, but, if anyone's itching to do it, you certainly can, otherwise I can do it. I've already been in communication with at least the Ames person, so. I don't know, Andrew, have you done it before?
Yeah, so I was kind of Jeff's backup, which on some of these, so I helped out a little bit this last year. I have no problem helping it, maybe I'll take the Story County one if you want to see the Ames one. If that works for you. Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. with me. Yep. Unless somebody else wants it. It's pretty
I don't
much,
want to-
I'm willing
Yeah.
if needed.
Yeah.
Andy wants to take it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
it's pretty much assessor stuff, it's tax and stuff, it's a couple of commitments a year is all, and I've done it in the past, so, yeah, no, if you could do city, that'd be great, city things.
Those need to be separate motions.
No, it's just you appoint, so
Oh, okay.
you
all right.
appoint, so Andrew is appointed for Story and then Josh appointed for the Ames
City
city
of Ames,
things.
yep,
Okay,
all right. Next, district taxable valuations.
yeah, so, we are starting the budget process. Tomorrow I actually have a work session to start on the budget for fiscal year 25, the district certified budget. So our taxable valuations came in for, Story and Boone County. I provided a historical and it looks like it's exactly what it was in 2017, but, so what does this mean when we do the published budget, the process, our levies are made up of different levies and some levies, this increase will drive the levy down because we have more of a tax base. But for example, our PEPAL voted in our site, it actually increases more revenue. It will also increase more revenue for debt service. Does not help our debt service ceiling, our limit very much. We are really tight with that. That doesn't give us, it helps, by all means it helps, but it doesn't give us really a lot more authority in raising that debt ceiling limit very much. But so overall, when we do the budget process, you'll see some revenue created additional because of this, but it also on some levies, it'll drive the levy down because we have more of the tax base. So we'll go through that further as we talk about the district budget process and what the preliminary budget will look like. And that'll be discussion in February and March, and then finalizing it in April. More to come. Also, I wanted to mention our CFPM, our comprehensive financial projection model. We use the estimate at 5%. So 7.23 is above our estimate that we use on a when we do a scenario for 5 years. We base it on a 5%. So last couple of years we fell short, but this year we are above average. So what we yes.
Facilities reports. We were going to have a facilities kind of special meeting today. Obviously, that's been pushed back, so not much of an update.
I have a little bit of an update. So today we met with CMBA. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Where we went through all the design around the middle school project, the safety and secure entrance that we're putting in. That their project went to planning and zoning through the city and was approved. So we're happy about that. So they're moving on to the next piece, which is putting things out to bid. We went through and finalized to make sure everything was ready to go today. And so that is looking good. It's moving forward. So that's good news. And then also at that planning and zoning, what was the planning and zoning? At the city council meeting last week, sort of related to facilities, we had asked for a flashing light at the crosswalk right out here. Up here. And that was approved. So we're purchasing that and getting that, working with Brent to get that put in, but we've had some concerns about that crosswalk not being as bright, people can't quite see it, they go too fast, and maybe a light up sign would help a little bit, so that was approved, so we're happy about that. So the next piece of what we're doing with facilities is that we are working with the elementary again to just go through every single room, and we're down to things like putting in the drawings, like where do the electrical outlets go? What does that look like? We went through the neighborhoods to say, do we like where the windows are here and what that looks like, and what costs extra and what doesn't, and how to try to work on those things. So that's where we are with facilities, and we'll have a more complete update for you at our next meeting. But CMBA, we are meeting with them very regularly. I would say at least 2 times, if not 3 times a week, on different projects that we're moving along on that process. So the next piece after that is the high school. We're meeting with the high school team to take a look at that addition, what that is.
Questions on that?
Everything moving smoothly? I mean, no major issues or just?
No, it's moving smoothly. You know, we're always worrying about budget, so that's the conversation that we're always having about where does this fall in budget? And, you know, when they ask questions like, do you want a door here? I ask things like, well, how much extra does that cost? You know, how much more for that door, you know, and then you know, trying to weigh, like, is that a good decision, or, you know, is it worth the cost that comes with that decision? And so, for example, we had a long discussion today about where to put this certain door, and it's all related to safety. If we have people in that area and that's the only way to get out, we need to have a way to get out. So, you know, things like that, what does it look like? So we'll continue to have those conversations and continue to look at budget, but I'm very, very pleased with the work De Novo and CMBA has been doing and moving along, and we're listening to what our needs are. So.
Moving on, we have board policy, second reading of new board policy 503.0801. Discipline of students who make threats of violence or cause incidents of violence, student threats of violence and incidents of violence. This is required by state law with possible action to waive third reading and approve. And you have any discussion on that? Reviewed
I
it?
do.
Yeah.
So when I was going through and looking at it, it looks like there's different levels, 1, 2, 3, and then under each of those levels, there's kind of grades PK through 2, 3 through 5, 6 through 8, 9 through 12, and pretty much it all matches, right? What happens in level 1 for all those, except at level 1, PK through 2, 3 through 5, and 6 through 8 don't make any mention of temporary removal from extracurricular activities or transportation if the incident has occurred on transportation. So 9 through 12 is the only one that mentions that in that level 1. I didn't know if that was purposeful or if that was an oversight, since everything else matches all grade levels the rest of the way through the document. So that was my.
Yeah, I think we could go back and look at that, because I would say, I mean, I would imagine if the first line was about extracurriculars, they probably thought, well, that doesn't apply, but the transportation part definitely applies, so it's probably an oversight.
And it mentions extracurricular and transportation in levels 2 and 3 on those different grade levels. And so, but I thought for sure the transportation,
Yes,
because those PK through 8 are on the buses even more than the 9 through 12 on a daily basis.
good, we can go back and look at that, that's no problem, then we can bring that forward to our next meeting.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it just has to do with the levels, because there isn't anything about discussing expulsion as well. Until you get to the level 2, level 3.
Right,
So-
right. So like each level, the punishment, if you will, increases a little bit in severity. But it's just that level, and PK through 12 match all the way through level 2, all the way through level 3. It's just in that level 1, PK through 8 don't match what 9 through 12 say.
Okay,
So we can take it out of 9 through 12 and we add it in.
Right.
Yeah.
Take it out of 9 through 12, add it into.
You would want uniformity across the board.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, if my 5-year-old hits a kid, it's gonna look different than like if my 15-year-old punches. I think it would make sense, that maybe 15-year-old would be a little bit disciplined a little bit more severely because of just higher expectation, you know, so to me, it would make sense for us to have like a little bit.
Right, well, what I'll do is I'll go back to the principals because they looked at each piece and I'll check with them on that level one. It makes sense to me that that transportation piece for sure should be in there. So we'll go back and that's the whole point of a second read.
Yeah,
is
we
to
don't
this
have to.
Conversation,
Yeah.
yeah, and then we'll just bring it back for a third read. Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, because it does say at the beginning, you know, before everything, like, determining which level to assign to the incident, you look at the incident itself, as well as the age, grade level, and maturity of the student. So, like you said, like a 5-year-old or a 15-year-old, it might fall into a different level. It's just that the kind of options don't match, throughout that level one. And I didn't know if that was purposeful or an oversight.
So what did the state tell us? I mean, is this, I assume this is IESB recommended wording.
It-
So at what point did the state have any recommendations on it?
There is, the first part of the policy comes from the state. When we had to go back in and fill in our own levels,
Got it.
is where we had the opportunity
Okay.
to do that. And the principals made the decision, you know, along with myself, that let's just move what they're saying into this, so it's consistent. Now, the next piece of this is what we had talked about is really as a summer work, is creating some sort of matrix that is a guide for any administrator to say if, I'll use an example of if you punch somebody on the playground, I mean, it wouldn't be quite that specific, but you know, your discipline could range from loss of a privilege to expulsion, if that's what it matches with this, you know, whatever the words are, so that when you have an incident as an administrator, sometimes the hardest part is say, okay, what's everybody else gonna do? Well, that gives you a range to say, you know, maybe it's just suspension, it's not expulsion. So then you go, okay, I could choose to suspend this child, or I could choose to have them released to parent custody, which means we're gonna call you, you're gonna come pick up your child, and you know, you have some leeway as an administrator around that when you have some sort of matrix, but it's still a guide. So you can do things like, how old are they? What was the intent? What was the situation around it? You know, because there's lots of factors that no matter how many ways we try to say it has to be this way, that's that zero tolerance piece, it doesn't always fall that way.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is just, again, it was pushed down from the state. I don't see a lot in here that isn't already addressed in several of our other policies, like our student conduct, so.
Correct.
We're kind of doing this because, you know, we have to, but we, you know, it's good to have a guide, but at the same time, you know, we need to make sure that it still allows. It seems kind of like we're checking boxes here, because that's kind of what the state has said to do, but. Having all of those options at each level, it does give the administrators the discretion to act appropriately. You know, they know the situation more than a checklist does. And that's important. We want to make sure that we give them the freedom to do that. And to act according to what they know from day-to-day interactions with these kids and knowing the, you know, kind of the backstories. Whether that goes up or down in severity.
So that matrix that you want to work on some more, will that cover some of the areas that were omitted later on in this document? You're gonna get more specific and context.
Yes, we're gonna
Okay.
look at that more specifically, so that just to utilize it as a guide, you know, to say like, you know, when you have certain things. Just depends on what it is. Like we said, we could never come up with every situation that we run into. But in general, when this happens, we'd like to have some options, you know.
I like your idea, the matrix is more pragmatic and useful than how this was articulated in the book. So
Agreed.
that-
And the matrix.
It's a good
would be
idea.
A board policy, it'd be a guide for use by.
It
To
would,
align with the board.
correct, so I would see it falling under, in the student handbook, under behavior, if you will. And so everyone would be aware of it, Now, you, as a governing body, you know, you approve the handbook, so it's in there in that sense, but it would be aligned with our policies for sure.
So we have a motion to, well, this is just the second reading.
Second
We
reading,
don't
yeah,
need
we'll
a-
bring it back in February.
Yeah, so we'll, to be continued. New business, consider approve, authorize the district's administration to submit a request to the school budget review committee in the amount of $368,221 for modified supplemental amount for the 24-25 dropout prevention program for expenditures necessary to implement the 24-25 at-risk and dropout prevention program plans as approved by the Gilbert CSD school board. Yeah.
So what does this mean? So this is our at-risk dropout prevention, and it's basically a formula, and it's 100% supported with property taxes. So this will be another piece of our district budget that we'll be working on, that will be part of our property tax levy. And so we have to have, the deadline is today, so for approval tonight will allow us to tax for that, include that in our district budget. So I have also included what we use that money for, how we support at-risk and what personnel. So that's included this, and it is a formula that is linked to student enrollment. It also has been in the legislation on, there's a disparity of not every district gets the same, it's not computed the same, it's a different formula. It was like a snapshot at one point in time where you were at, and so now you may hear in the legislation about bringing the equality to that, but it's not there yet. So right now, we're approving this so we can add it to our district budget April 15th.
I move to approve.
I do have a question on that before, we approve, if I can ask.
Yeah.
So looking at the second sheet of the scale, you have the totals for FY 24, but when you look at 25, you have it broken out more. Are you actually changing any of that labor, or is it just more specific on what you're forecasting for 25?
It's an estimate only. It's a bucket of money. And so we have to allocate. I use it as a guide to allocate for account numbers. And throughout the year, there's different things that come up that, oh, we need to fund this, like we have no other funding. Let's fund it with at-risk. Well, at the end of the day, when I close my books, we can't be over the bucket amount.
Sure.
So some may have to come down. Some at-risk funding is also funded with special ed. A person may be 25, 75%. So this is just an estimate, and then with the dollars being the same amount of dollars, that's just shifting on June 30th, basically, just so we don't overspend. And because it's not enough, obviously, and there's other things that come out throughout, thinking, okay, where can we put this? And it's a dropout prevention expense. So going at this point, it's very estimate, because we don't know the personnel, we don't know the salaries of the support systems. So it's just an estimate of spending the total dollar amount.
Okay, thank you.
And it's also, I should say that this on the formula, the property tax is the 368, but the district has the local match of 122.
Any other discussion? We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? All opposed? All right, consider approve potentially bus bid, so there's a document on there. And the recommendation on that was for the Bluebird bid. It is not the low bid, but my perspective on that is that we trust the people that can do things that I can't. So it was pretty close, almost insignificant. Any discussion on that?
So recommendation is coming from
Trent.
Yeah. To go with, okay.
Yeah, I don't know why he wanted to go with Bluebird. I'm guessing that mechanics are saying that,
I think in the past, the Bluebird has always been. There's been a bigger disparity of the price, I should say. And I think if I remember right, Bruce always wanted Bluebird to be the bus. But in the past, the Bluebird has always been the much higher one. So this year, it's not so much. So Trent said if it's possible, he would like the Bluebird. So just compared to when we went out to bid 2 years ago, this bus is $37,000 more than 2 years ago. Same size. And it was a Thomas bus that we purchased 2 years ago, $37,000 more.
Are we just buying one bus?
Buying one
Just
bus,
one bus.
unless you wanna buy more buses.
Well, I don't know how many buses.
Good year for Bluebird, I guess.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion,
Trading in.
I'll make a
Trading
motion to
in.
buy the
Yeah.
Bluebird bus.
I'll second that motion.
Hey, all in favor?
I,
All opposed? Motion passes. Financial report summary.
I'll just do, the information from the packet. If anybody has any questions, let me know. I did want to talk about the flexibility fund. That requires a public hearing of moving basically what, that will have a hearing that has to go to the public, and I recommend that we do it in February. We've already expensed it. And if we remember, we, purchased the mental health support, what was that called? The, agreement with the services, the purchase services for,
Leader in me.
no, not Leader and Me. This is for this year, the mental health amendment. The amendment,
Oh, for Jennifer Yulee.
yes,
Yes.
we've already
He's running
expensed,
all of our groups as we look at needs that we have.
yeah, so we've already expensed it. Now we just need to make sure we actually can move the money. So in order to move the money, from a homeschool assistance program, we need to move it into the flexibility fund, just $20,000. The purchase services was around 99, 97, something like that. So whatever extra of that 20,000 would just be salaries and benefits, would be under $105,000. So we'll start that process with a public hearing on February 12th, since we're already gonna have a public hearing. And then we can actually do a board resolution that night to approval of moving those funds. So we've already had the expense, so we might as well just take care of it. It's something we usually do in June, but there's really no need to wait, because we've already earmarked it and we have expensed it out.
Consent agenda. Anybody have anything need to be pulled or discussed? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, calendar, so January 29th, we had that rescheduled work session. February 12th, next board meeting.
Hey, real quick on the 29th, I
Yeah.
got 2 notes. Will we get to an AEA discussion during that meeting, Christine, or is that too early?
I don't think it's too early. I am worried about all the things we need to talk about on the 29th.
Yeah.
We've got quite a list.
Yep, that's fine.
So I think we need to prioritize, so AEA, I'm not saying it needs to be the 29th, but.
Yep.
You know, we need to talk about AEA, so that might be something we do maybe in February.
That's
We
fine.
need to talk about, we might need to have some sort of exec session. Usually we do a check-in with me, around that, so that might be an exec session. Maybe that's February 12th. And then, of course, we have facilities, and then we have, we have Travis lined up on the
Yep.
29th,
Yes.
correct? And that's really what the intent of the original meeting was, a little bit of facilities, well, a little bit of state of the district, if you will. And then a little bit on facilities of where we are, what does it look like, and then a big chunk of Travis, that was our original intent.
Yep.
So those other 2 pieces. We need to fit in somewhere, because that's all important too.
And there's a 4th grade music concert that night. So I'll
Oh,
be bopping.
should have known that too, huh?
Josh, you have a
On
4th
the,
grade?
on the 29th.
that's
I
too high.
think-
Yeah, I think it's
Oh, we got 4 of them.
Is it, what, 7:30, I think?
7:15.
We'd be done by 7.
Did we start any room?
That's up to the group. Anytime you wanna start earlier, I'm here anyways. It's up to you guys.
You're saying 20.
Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I have that on my calendar.
I can.
Anyone else have that?
Yeah, you guys,
My kids for
that's okay.
15 minutes.
Right, I'm very entertaining with children.
As long as we can form. We can proceed with the meeting.
You want-
But there's some important
There-
stuff.
yeah.
I need to
I
have
mean,
it
just-
in there. Like we
Is
can't.
5 too early?
I can
guess
make
that's-
anything work if I know ahead of time.
Mindy, I think you had.
Yeah, I have to be, I have to stay at work until 5,
Oh, that's right.
but then I can leave right at 5 and be here, so I can be here for 15 minutes late. That's me.
Maybe start at, my thoughts, maybe start at 5, maybe the state of the district piece,
Yeah.
almost if you could, Mindy could meet separately and just give her that update, just in case she missed that, because I think it's important.
Jason,
The calendar says the fourth grade concert's at 6, third grade concert at 7:50.
Oh, what's at 7:15?
third,
grade.
Yeah,
Fourth
fourth
grade.
grade
Fifth grade?
will be at 6
Okay.
P M.
oh, that's pretty cool. I mean,
That's-
that's,
Yeah, it's
My
3 of
calendar
us.
says 7:15 as well.
I'm looking at the updates sent out by
she went
my
at
daughter's
7,
fourth grade
so
teacher, and it says 6 o'clock.
It should
Yeah,
be.
after.
You can do after, too. You wanna
Yeah.
stay up late?
I can stay up late and I can get up absurdly early.
Yeah.
Okay.
We
Anyone
have that in
knows-
common, Josh. I have that same thing. Whatever you guys wanna do.
I think we should just maybe, after this meeting, figure that out, we'll send an email out or something, try to get some dates,
Okay.
we have to set on the calendar soon, so.
Okay,
I
let's
think
come up with
that's-
a different day.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine,
so-
A
that's
different day or same day, different time?
Maybe,
fine. Either one, I mean, we can do 7:15 or so, I mean, that, the problem is, it's gonna be late. I mean, it's gonna be a good hour and a half, 2 hour meeting.
Yeah, I think so too,
Yeah.
which.
I'm good with that.
I have to-
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'd be okay.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll just have coffee.
Yeah, and we can do that.
Okay, what time?
7:15.
7:15.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Let's do that.
that's fine.
Okay.
So January 29th, it's
Can't do it by another day.
7.
We're doing third graders, right? We have any third graders in here?
7:15.
You gotta think about it.
I know. Look at my else, I look over.
Third
That hurt.
grade. Third grade.
You know?
Not that
No, I
wanted
know.
to do that. I would have.
You guys did talk.
Yeah, I looked at Melissa, I knew the rest of them, I didn't know Melissa, so I said, I'm gonna third grade.
Okay, 7:15 on the 29th.
Alright, sorry, alright, we're good now.
Okay, we should be good with Travis because he had a conflict at 6 o'clock.
Okay,
And so, but he was gonna come here and Zoom at our place,
Yeah.
so this should be good. for-
good, yeah.
That works out.
For him too. Sounds like it works out better for everyone.
Yeah, 7:15, got it, thank you so much.
All right, the next, February 12th board meeting, March 4th regular board meeting, March 25th. Proposed first, possible first public hearing on the proposed property tax. for the
That's
24-25.
a guess, I don't know, that's the
Okay.
first day we can have it, so tomorrow at my workshop, I'll find out if we can hold it that night, and it's just a one agenda item thing, it's a public hearing, and that's it. It has to be by itself, so
Passing the tax.
that's new legislation this year,
Okay. And then April 8th gonna be probably the same kind of thing. Okay.
it's the final budget hearing right before the regular board meeting.
Okay. All right, is that a motion? Adjourn,
I make a motion to adjourn.
I was second.
all in favor?